welcome back. I want to I want to start this video out by sending a thank you to one of the viewers of the video, Skinny Cammy. She left a comment, and I found it very refreshing, very uplifting, because a lot of times we hear people talking about what they don't have, what they're not doing, what somebody's doing wrong. But her comment was a positive comment as to, what she's been doing, how she's been getting ready. That basically there are folks out there who are ready, because a lot of times what I see are folks who are not ready. And that kind of concerns me, because that's kind of goes against what I'm looking for. I'm looking to try, I want to get people ready, not to debate on, which knife, which knife is better to have, or which pea shooter I should have, or how many weapons I should have. In the end of the day, that stuff isn't going to matter. At the end of the day, what's going to matter is, are you ready mentally, physically, and spiritually? Because that's the only way that you're going to make it through here. So thank you, Skinny Cammy. So today's video, I'm going to talk about some of the different events that folks have expressed concern with. I belong to a group, and I haven't emailed that group to see if it's okay to mention them, so I'm not going to. But one of the posts that somebody posted was, what are some of the events that they're concerned with? So basically, I took a tally, and there are 11 events that were identified on this site. And out of that, so the number one event that most folks were concerned with is an EMP grid down situation. So we did a video on that. In fact, a lot of folks appeared to like that video. So that one I'm not going to really get much more into. I am going to start posting these on my website, along with some additional information and stuff. I've been kind of negligent in that. So, in my Army vernacular, I've been slacking. So I want to work on that. I want to start putting and posting some of these videos along with maybe some additional content on the website, so that folks can be, folks can reference it for as long as we have internet. The number two was actually a tie between civil unrest and economic collapse. And in all actuality, should the economy collapse, which it's looking worse and worse every day. I forget what it is right now. I know the market has been down for quite some time. It continues to go down. I can't type, guys. Pretty much across the board, it's they're all pretty much down. I was watching a video yesterday, X22 Report Spotlight, in which they were talking to a marketing expert. And I will tell you straight up front, I am not a marketing expert. I don't claim to be. I am an expert in all things geospatial and in being ready, but I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not a publishing guy or a publicity guy. So, so those are my things that I'm not good at. I know I need them. I know that they're important. But I can't be all things to everything. So I choose to do the things that I am passionate about, and that's being ready, including the geospatial aspects. So looking at the markets, the Nasdaq is down. I mean, the European markets are all down. Asian markets are pretty much mostly down. So the economy is it's in a spiral, and based on that expert that she was talking about, she was saying that the current system has got to be replaced. The question is, what's it going to be replaced with? There's talk that the cryptocurrency is going to be the easiest, because it's pretty much the same kind of system we have now. It's a transaction-based system. So that's my favorite saying is putting on the Band-Aid on a second chest wound. I think that's exactly what that would be. There's also talk of gold and silver back system. But she also said that in order for that to occur, that basically the books will have to be wiped clean. So basically all of the current debted system that we're in would have to be wiped out, and we would have to basically start back at zero. I think for most of us, that would probably not be a bad thing. In fact, I think this whole system is jacked up, has been jacked up for quite some time. And whether or not we can get a system in place that is based on the same thing, the principles in which our founding fathers foresaw back in their time. That's what I would like. That's what I'd like to see happen. Now, whether or not that's going to happen or not, I'm not even going to venture to guess, because there's so many factors, there's so many pieces in this puzzle. I don't think any one person, maybe even a group of persons, can truly wrap their arms around everything that's going on. I think there's a lot of different factions. If you're of the religious lean, like I am, there's also the religious aspect of the rapture, the tribulation, the Antichrist, all that. So, which we'll get to that in just a moment here. So there are a lot of things. There are a lot of groups, good and bad. I think that the overarching situation is ultimately the good and evil, good versus evil, which I started to talk about in my book, The World Reset. So there's a lot of things that we need to be cognizant of. So number 3, the third group, it was funny because there was, at least 11, there were ties between many of these. The only one that kind of stood out was the EMP, but number 3 was depopulation by the government / FEMA, the Rapture, which we just talked about, and we'll talk about a little more. And then someone was talking about a series of events. And I think the series of events, I believe it's something that that's what's kind of going on right now. We've got a lot of different things. We have the plates, the continental plates moving. In fact, I was just watching a video in which they were showing that the plates some of them have switched directions, some of them have sped up, some of them have slowed down. So that's leading to like earthquakes, the tsunamis. We have volcanoes. One of the sites that I watch, kind of keep my finger on the pulse of things. There are currently 24 volcanoes that are going off. There's many more than that are in a watch state. In other words, that they're ready to go off. I was watching a couple of videos yesterday that was talking about Yellowstone, which is the large caldera that is under the Yellowstone National Park up in Wyoming, southern Montana, up in that area. There's another one, Long Valley, California, has a large caldera. Both have been experiencing harmonic tremors, which are indicators of magma is actually moving. That's what's causing the earth to rattle around. Yellowstone had helium-4, which is a gas that's emitted by the movement of lava that kind of indicates what's going on under the surface. The same was true with Long Valley. They were starting to experience things that were indicators of, volcanic action. There's a movie called Dante's Peak, which I like, and it basically talks about some of the things that are occurring around the planet right now in regards to what's going on with these volcanoes. In fact, in that they talk about, if they showed up at this certain point in time, all their alarm bells would be going off, the red flags would be flying everywhere. But because they were there earlier, the indicators didn't over-trump the monetary, the fear factor. So again, I'm not trying to scare anybody. My philosophy is if I am ready for whatever happens, if I know what's coming, I can be mentally, spiritually, physically ready, so that when it happens, it's not a shock, it's not a surprise, and I'm ready to deal with whatever it is that's going on. The surprise events are the events that will catch you, okay, or if you're not ready. So, Rapture, I'm not going to talk about that a whole lot. If you're interested, you can contact me and we can talk more one-on-one. But I mean, that's basically the ultimate. That's the ultimate prep. That's the ultimate end of the world as we know it. Now, is that going to happen in our lifetime? As many folks have said, almost every generation has had the notion that that the world's going to end, that Christ is going to come back. But I don't think in the times before that we have had as many indicators as the Bible talks about as we do today. And one of the key ones, I think, is the key piece about as in the days of Noah, okay, and the days of Lot. Because up until a few years ago, homosexual stuff was around. Folks kind of knew about it, but it was not something that was in your face all the time. And I mean, now we have homosexuals getting married, we have couples adopting children, all kinds of things. It's really getting sickening out there. So, I don't want to offend anybody. For me personally, I think that homosexuality stuff is wrong. I just, even on a natural level, it's not the right thing. So, like I said, I'm not going to belabor that point. If you have questions, comments, you can leave them on the channel, or you can email me at guy@greatlivingsources.com. But I see the signs that have been prophesied long before I was ever even thought about, long before pretty much any of us that are out here thought about. So when I start to see these things, to me it seems like we just we either have to believe or we don't believe. So I personally believe. So um, the depopulation of by the government and FEMA, I'm not sure how reliable that source of information is. I don't know if I'm not convinced that it's not just a diversion tactic used by some of these groups that are out there that are just trying to keep trouble stirred up. Um, the thing is, and this I think is probably one of the most important things, if they can keep us, they being, black hats, as some are referred to them as, um, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, this group that basically wants to control us, that gives us this name of sheeple. Um, and I'm not as smart as some of my other YouTube compatriots are, so I don't know. This video may not even make it on there because of some of the things I say, um, but there is a group out there, I think, that is interested in only serving themselves. I think that there are some truths to some of the things that are being said about these elite. So, with that understanding, I think there are groups that are trying to keep the trouble stirred up, that are trying to play both ends against the middle, and that profit from basically every aspect. They support both sides of a war. They support both sides of a confrontation, whether it's civil rights or what have you. So, that old adage of follow the money, I think that's pretty true in this case as well. If you look to see who benefits from a lot of the things that are happening and occurring, I think you're going to find out who is ultimately responsible for what's going on in the world today. So, the best thing that we can do to be ready for this stuff is to understand that it exists and to stay together. If we continue to divide ourselves into these different little enclaves, these little factions, blue, white, red, black, whatever, that's how they're going to be able to keep us under control and how they will ultimately win the war. Because when we unite as a group, the energy that we put out, whether it's in prayer or meditation, everything in this universe, in my opinion, is energy based. Okay? And we can influence other folks all around us. If we're positive, then the rest of the world will be positive. So if we're all afraid, then everybody's going to be afraid, because that fear is an energy, it's a frequency, it's a vibration. And I know this sounds, esoteric or whatever, but it's not really. If you really think about it, if you look at the science that underlies everything that we are and everything that we do, it's all based on energies and frequencies. When I was working in DC, one of the managers told me one time, he said that he was making it his mission to catch me on an off day, because I was always upbeat and happy or whatever. I didn't let things get to me, most usually. So I thought that was pretty good, because this individual's whole purpose in life, he said, was to catch me on an off day. So that must mean that somehow he was picking up the vibrations that I was putting out, because I don't really say a lot normally. I know that's hard to believe, but anyway, I don't usually talk to a lot of people other than, hey, hi, how you doing, whatever. But I mean, I don't really get into any philosophical types of discussions with a lot of people, and definitely not managers of different departments and stuff. So the fact that he was picking this up, that kind of gave me further evidence that the energy, the vibration that I put off, was being picked up by those around me. You can walk into certain rooms and you can just feel the tension in the room. And there are times when one individual can come in and the whole room, the whole atmosphere of the room changes. So, I believe, I truly believe that this is possible. So if we stay united, if we stay together, if we do not let the things that are going on around us influence us and change us and put us down and divide us even further, but if we can keep our optimism, our, stay out of that fear mode, I think that things can be different and we can make a difference. That's where I think that depopulation thing is. I think that's just I think it's a diversion tactic, honestly. So I don't know if I put a lot of credence into that particular topic. So then there are 4 that are number 4. Imagine that, huh? So the 4 are weapons confiscations, earthquakes, tsunamis, and biological attack. I believe that those are possible. I mean, they've been trying to get our weapons for a long time, and it is hard to take over a populace who is armed. And I think that is what our forefathers understood, and the reason why, we had this built into our Constitution to prevent the government from basically doing what it's doing, taking it over. When I was stationed in Germany, most Germans do not have weapons. Very few are allowed, like a shotgun, and that's only used for hunting. And hunting over there is so very controlled that it costs a lot of money. So most folks don't even hunt because it's too difficult to do so. It costs something that was, at the time, I think it was marks. They were still in the mark system. They went to the euro just as I was leaving, so I don't know what it would have been then, but I think it was like about 2,000 marks. So it would be at least €1,000 to just get the license. And when you would go hunting, basically there was this gamekeeper person there that would tell you, okay, that's the one that you're going to get, and then you don't get to keep it. So, so you're paying all this money, told which one to hunt, and then you don't get to keep it. So, people are like, why do it? But that's just an example of how the government can control and prevent us from being able to take care of ourselves, to cut that umbilical cord to the government. Earthquakes and tsunamis, I mean, that's in the news almost every day, even the mainstream media that we can't really even hardly trust anymore. But I mean, if you look at, I go to the USGS earthquake site. I look at site that lists all the volcanoes that are going off. And as I said, there's 24 currently that are going off, with a couple more that are still um, in the yellow that haven't actually erupted yet. So there's a lot of things going on with those. I think it's pretty obvious that the plates are in fact moving. I think it is also tied with the pole shift, which is also tied to the solar minimum and solar maximum and the outputs of the sun. So a lot of this stuff is happening. We see it all the time. So those are things that we do need to keep in the back of our mind. Biological tech, is it possible? Yes. Most assuredly. Has it been done in the past? Quite sure it has. There's a lot of incidences that have occurred. In fact, there's this thing going on with I think it started in England with this polio-like illness that's impacting our children. The vaccines, the GMOs, all these things, in my mind, those are already biological attacks. They're just more subtle. It's not like they're dropping mustard gas or sarin gas. I think it's being done in different ways. There's even talk that some of it is in these chemtrails that they talk about. So it's definitely possible. And it could already, in fact, be happening. The problem is it is disguised in such a way that it's not as in your face as if they dropped sarin gas or, what was that? Anthrax. It's not something that is an identifiable, in-your-face kind of biological attack. Are those possible? Yeah. I mean, they've happened before. They've happened in, highly populated places such as China and other places. So there are those that can happen. And the last one I put on my list, it wasn't brought up in the group, but it is the volcanoes, because the volcanoes, I think, do tie in with some of the other things that are going on. So what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to discuss each of these. Each one will be its own separate video, and I will discuss some of the things that you can potentially do to help counter or mitigate these circumstances, or things that you could do to get ready for these things. I'm sure if you've watched more than one of these videos, you're probably getting tired of hearing it, but I cannot overemphasize the importance of having a written emergency readiness plan. If you do not have it done by us, if we don't do it for you, at least do one. And once you have the plan, rehearse the plan. Ensure that everybody in your group understands what it is that they're going to have to do and how you guys are all going to link up. One of the things that I briefly mentioned here is security. Okay, this written plan that you do and the people that you allow into your group, you need to be absolutely sure of these people, because that plan has all the information of what you'll do, when you'll do it, and where you're going to do it. Okay, and I should also have the resources that you're going to need, the skills that you'll need. So everything will be in this plan. So it's important that you keep it safe. I spent 25 years in the Army, as I said before. The majority of those years, pretty much 20 of those years, I was in and worked in a classified environment. So I understand the importance of operational security, and basically that's what you're looking at. You're looking at operational security on your particular plan, because whatever you want to call it, when stuff hits the fan, whether it's a natural disaster or a human influence disaster, it is an operation, and it does need to be kept secret. We take that very seriously here at Great Living Sources. Like I said, I understand it, I know it, and we do not discuss with anybody other than the person that has requested the plan what it is that we have done for anybody else. That's kind of one of the problems too with this, is because you can't exactly have testimonials from folks, because it makes it a little more difficult, because we can't talk about it. In fact, you should maybe even not even talk about what you have or don't have in a public setting. That's something up to you, but I would personally never tell anybody what I have or don't have. I used to watch that Doomsday Prepper, which was an interesting show. I didn't always agree with everything that, all the different events that they were talking about. Some of them I wasn't really that concerned about. And the scoring system on that was just crazy. Made no sense. But they did have some interesting ideas, some things that I may not have thought about. So that's, that was really the only reason why I ever watched it. But all right, so we're going to, like I said, we're going to discuss these in more detail. We're going to focus on each one of these topics that and give some tips, tricks, or what is the word now? Hacks that can maybe help get you guys through something you may not have thought about. The important thing is to be ready. Wherever you are, what stage of this game you're in, basics are basics. Everybody's going to need food, water, and shelter. So the question is how much of each of those you're going to need. So if stuff hits the fan or the end of the world as we know it, you're going to need a way to potentially reperpetuate that food, because if stuff is hit the fan or the world has changed as we know it, you're likely not going to be able to go to a grocery store anywhere or any kind of store and buy anything. So you're going to have to be able to do it yourself. So that's where the skills come into play. Knowing how to grow your own food, knowing how to cultivate, how to save the seeds so that you can plant them the next year. How to find water, purify water, build your own shelter. All of these are skills that you're going to need, and there's a whole laundry list. We did a blog article on the website that we discuss the different skills and what they're needed for. So, check it out. If you have questions or comments, or if you're looking to get a plan done for your family or your group, give us a call or give us a shout, drop us a line, email us. Again, the email address is guy@greatlivingsources.com. You can get me on my Facebook pages. I have GL Sky, which is my book author pen name website. And we also have a Great Living Sources website or a Facebook page. And obviously you can get us on this channel. We're also on Instagram. Whatever, get a hold of somebody and get a hold of the information you need. In the comments, I'm also going to leave a link that will take you to to a free readiness checklist. It's a list that I put together of different items, resources that you would need, basically blanketed across many of these types of events. So check it out. It's free. It doesn't cost anything, just your email. Your email address will be sent. We will use it to send out newsletters and things to help keep you informed of what's going on. Just I will not sell your email. As I said, your security is very important to me, and I understand the importance of it, maybe even more than some of you out there. But get ready. Things are changing. Things will happen, whether it's the end of the world as we know it, or if it's just a natural disaster of some kind. We're coming into winter. Today is 27th of December, and we're slated to have thunderstorms today. So we've also got a wind advisory out here in the region in which I live for 15 to 20 mile an hour winds sustained with gusts up to 40 to 45 miles an hour. So you never know what the weather's going to do. And if you're part of this conspiracy theory group or whatever they call them, the government can control the weather, so you never know what the weather's going to do. And nature by itself is unpredictable, so it doesn't need any help to be difficult, okay, or challenging. So again, remember the core calm, stay balanced, stay focused, and be ready. And thank you for joining us.